Please welcome Vice President of Comms at SEIA and co-host of the new Good Energy podcast, Stephanie Bosh, and her colleague, Colin Silver, Senior Vice President of Content and Strategy and co-host of Good Energy. Come on to the stage. Well, I'm happy to welcome you officially as podcasters. Steph, let's
Thank
get
you. Yeah.
that adjusted right there. Awesome.
Thank you.
And Colin, I'm just going to do this real quick.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
You'd think I'd be used to this by now.
It's okay. You're what now, 7, 8 episodes in?
Yeah, something like that. So.
Actually, after this week, I bet you're probably closer to 15.
Yeah, we've done a ton of work this week, getting some really interesting conversations going. So
Yeah.
we're really excited.
Yeah.
Really fun.
I would say I'm jealous because you've got this sweet podcast booth, but you guys
Hey,
hooked us up
this
with
is pretty good.
You hooked us up with a pretty decent stage this year. I can't complain.
Yeah,
I cannot
yeah.
complain.
Yeah.
Steph Bosh, you remember we met in the lobby right in front of where Moss had their booth last year, and Steph looked at me and she says, "We got to get you in the lobby." So I
Thank
appreciate you.
I hope you like your positioning this year. It's amazing how a little bit of visibility can change the
It
conversation. It's great.
really is. It has been tremendous. Thank you. So, I'm curious how you guys feel. I'm sure you're proud of RE Plus and how it shaped up this year. 40,000, a record-breaking year once again. What was the moment that you think you'll remember from this year? And was there anything that was particularly unexpected?
I'm honestly, I want to I'll shout out our RE Plus team.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this has been an amazing conference. Such an amazing progress since last year in Vegas. I feel like the flow, the questions that we were getting, folks have really been happy and getting a lot of work done here without the sort of questions that were coming to us last year. So for me personally, I think that the RE Plus team is just an amazing job making this an easy place to get work done.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were here 2 years ago in Anaheim, obviously the energy was really, really high because the IRA had just passed. We were back after 2 years of not doing the conference, but it was also like growing pains. We came back to this like event after a few years gone, and it was twice the size that it had been before, and everyone was like, oh my God, how do we navigate this? How do we deal with all this growth? And I feel like we're starting to really hit our stride on this being the largest energy event in North America, where we're actually finding ways to create, sub communities and sub events within the broader ecosystem, because there's just no way you can do it all. It's huge. And I think people are really starting to find their way to create the event that works for them and get the deals done and have the conversations.
And in 5 or 10 years from now, what's it going to look like? Where are we going to be?
We're on CES trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
honestly.
that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And when it gets so big, you got to go back small. So like you were saying, you smaller events and communities and everything within the larger experience, because you can't possibly take it all in.
Totally.
Right.
Having spent a fair amount of time in the last few years going to the oil and gas conferences, we'll know when like Saudi Aramco has a big booth and the sheikhs are walking around.
Right.
That's when we'll know we've arrived and we've taken over. Like Sarah Week is now a secondary.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
I love, Colin, the vision that we are building the largest energy conference in North America. That's wonderful.
Because it's the largest clean energy event, but it's also the largest energy event. We are just we're not the alternative source anymore. We're the new voice. It's fun. It's really fun.
And so when you're thinking about like the work you're going to do in the future, especially around policy issues in solar, what are you tracking around industry professionals that you think is going to be most pivotal for us in the next, like between now and the next RE Plus?
I mean, it's a no. We can't say a response without articulating how important the IRA is, right? Everything that my team is doing between now and the end of the year and looking into 2025 is focused around defending the IRA, defending the policies within it. So making sure that the industry knows how to take advantage of the incentives and making sure that the general public knows how important those incentives have been to creating jobs in their local districts, and then making sure that those members of Congress know how much those voters love those programs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of mirrors the show itself, right? Like, I think in the same way that we're trying to adapt to a bigger and bigger conference, I think the industry is adapting to very different challenges. And now that we have the IRA, we need to start, understanding the importance of winning the win. We need to understand the importance of defending what we've got. We need to recognize that our growth and our scale is putting us in places and exposing us to new risks that we haven't, necessarily been dealing with in the past. So, issues like consumer protection, land use and community engagement. All of those are the kinds of things that we're deeply focused on.
And the other thing that is absolutely essential to the industry's growth is the workforce. So everybody's, facing that challenge. You can't, if you want to go into a rural area and build a utility scale project, but you don't have the skilled workforce to get that done, it's a challenge across the board. So those related policy issues, skilled training programs, apprenticeship programs are going to be absolutely essential for this industry to, grow at the pace that we want to see it to grow.
Yeah, and the job fair yesterday, it seemed like it was a huge success. So that's a part of that strategy, I think, is just using these events to make sure we're inviting new folks into this space. So
yeah, we met some incredible folks like ACS down in Texas that are just knocking it out of park.
Yeah.
A veteran-owned company that is training thousands in the workforce, union and non-union alike, supporting companies like Solve to really grow this industry at a grassroots level.
Yeah, it's good
Awesome.
stuff.
You guys, we mentioned earlier, and anybody who walked through the front door saw the good energy.
Yeah, we're
How
out
could you
there.
miss it?
We're exposed.
The good energy fishbowl.
Yeah, exactly.
I know exactly how it feels. In 2019, when we first did the podcast, it lould look a lot like that, right? It was
Yeah.
kind of
Oh, yeah?
it was this
Cool.
plexiglass fishbowl.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the Good Energy podcast, the mission of it. What you want to? What are your goals? What do you hope to achieve through it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know that people are living their lives on their phone, and the easiest way to reach your audience is directly.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to wait for our news to hit through media relations or social media. So, to the extent that we can build those direct to consumer channels, we have hundreds of thousands of followers across our channels, and we figured the easiest way to tell our story would be a little bit of a longer form program through a podcast. And so far, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this last week that it's coming full circle a little bit. Last year at the Power Up Live booth, when Steph and I did a chat with a couple of other members of our team, we realized how fun this format is and how energizing it was for us. And so we started the conversations around good energy, and here we are a year later actually doing it. And it's one of the favorite things I have in my job is having interesting conversations with all the amazing people that sit on our board or who are engaged with SEIA in different ways, some of the partners that we work with. So just taking those conversations out to people has been really, really fun. And
Right.
I think we have so many good stories to tell, and we just need more ways to get them out there. So
By the way, kudos, Seth, you killed it.
yeah.
Seth did an unbelievable job. I mean, enviable. I was like, Seth, man, I wish I had somebody on my team with as much energy.
He's so good.
He's lapping us right now. It was
Absolute
amazing.
rock
He
stars.
is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire team, Zach, who's producing the podcast, Seth, Todd's creating all the hype videos. I mean, they're
So
just
good.
killer.
Yeah.
Any episode that stands out as the one that you really hope people listen to and tune into, either one that's published or one that you know is coming.
Yeah. Also, one of our first ones that we released with our launch was with Benji Backer of the American Conservative Coalition, and I think that was a really interesting conversation because he sees these issues in a way that not many of us do, but in a way that many of our audiences do. And so I think just having those conversations about how to reach younger folks, conservative folks, but also just people who are a little bit more skeptical about clean energy in general and aren't as familiar with the issues, just understanding how to speak to those folks and how to engage, communities that are not, automatically on our side. I think it's such an important conversation. So that was a really fun one. He's a really interesting guy.
You guys should really have Jael on.
Yeah.
Holzman.
Yeah.
So as a follow up to Benji.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. The episode is super compelling. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
He wrote an interesting book, and when you think we're trying to be very strategic about the kind of content that we're gonna publish through this. At the end of the day, we're tackling a lot of tough regulatory and policy issues. That stuff's wonky. It's hard for people to understand in a webinar.
Yeah.
So, creating longer form explainers.
It's
making
the
it fun.
storytelling. It's the storytelling, right? That's how we evolved as human beings. That's how we take in information most readily and remember it. So that's why podcasts are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we have podcasts.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's why we do podcasts.
You're inspiration, honestly.
exactly.
The both of you do such an amazing job, and we're like Colin said last year. We figured out, oh my gosh, there might be something here.
Yeah.
Do it. Well, I think you're doing really well.
Thank
a really
you.
good job.
Yeah,
the execution,
likewise. Yeah.
the execution is pitch perfect, as I
Yeah.
said in the intro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're trying.
Colin Silver and Steph Bosh of the tremendous comms team and strategy and content team now at SEIA. Thank you for taking time to be with us on the stage.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
guys.
for having us.
Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon, RE Plus. I'm Nico Johnson, and I'm here with my illustrious co-host, Josh Beck from RSM.
Hello, Solar World.
This is the third and final daily roundup at RE Plus Anaheim 2024. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we saw that were extraordinary on the show floor, some things that got your heart pumping, some things that excite us about what's going on in technology. And first, I want to just say from the bottom of my heart, first and foremost, thank you to Josh for being my co-host.
Honored.
To RSM for sponsoring our segment, the Daily Roundup. To Wärtsilä Energy Storage and Optimization for being our presenting sponsor and helping make this whole stage possible. We have some amazing additional sponsors in ABC Supply, Evlo, Fluence, MGM Transformers, and TrueGrid, who also brought us some amazing content right here on the show floor. The last 3 days have been tremendous. I couldn't have possibly done it without our team. Our team from SunCast Media has been amazing.
Amazing.
The team from Real Life for video has been amazing. Thank you, Andres and team. Thank you, Herman. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Jeremy and Alex. We've had such wonderful support here. And we also want to say thank you to everybody who stopped to watch us. If you're watching us live on the big Jumbotron right across from the SEIA booth, we are so grateful that people tune in, and we're super grateful that SEIA and SEPA bring us back each and every year to bring a professional podcast stage to this experience. You gave us a wonderful location this year, Abby.
Yes.
Super grateful for that. We're going to have Abby Hopper on the show today, everybody. We're going to have Abby on the show.
Yes.
But before we do that, let's talk about what's hot on the floor, things that stood out to you. Best of the best, coolest of the cool.
Best of the best, man. There was a lot of extraordinary boosts this year, right? And extraordinary people, I would say, that were in the market today. But I would say, first and foremost, you already covered it on the earlier, but the SEG Solar, the mechanical bull.
They won best, coolest, what was it? Coolest booth is what they won, some award. They have a trophy there.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and rightfully so. That thing was amazing. I was just amazed at the amount of sophistication on the marketing side that a lot of these organizations put into the show.
Really stepped it up this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Really
I think another one, obviously, like we talked about swag, best of the best swag. You did that one earlier, but I'll give a shout out though to Trina Solar.
Oh yeah,
right? Because
back in black.
I think that socks are an underappreciated part of swag.
I'm
right?
literally wearing Active Prospect socks from last year. I'm a swag. I want to keep it G-rated. I'm a swag hoarder.
Hoarder, got it. I like it.
Yes.
I like it. I thought another one that was really cool, Nico. I don't know if you ran by the Valmont Solar booth.
Oh, you mean the Ferrari booth?
Yeah, they got these little Ferrari keychains that were really neat. But I was really impressed with just talking with their team, the way that they approached the show, the way that they brought their product to market, the way that they talked about the way that they were leveraging the Inflation Reduction Act with their componentry, their domestic supply chain. You can tell that a company like Valmont has really, really thought this through.
Well, not only that, not lost on anybody that's known them, is that they're a legacy company. Decades old, right? They bring 80 years of experience.
Right.
And to bring a fresh approach to that brand that has traditionally just worked with utilities and farmers, right? To try and have a presence on the show floor that feels, I told them it felt elegant.
Yeah, it felt really elegant. And I think it's really interesting. We're also seeing this as part of this market consolidation, right? Valmont's a great, the majority of the revenue is made on their agriculture division. Right. But then recently they've brought in new leadership and they've consolidated all the industrials. So all their steel services, all their galvanization stuff. So man, now they've wrapped all of that under one profit and loss sheet. And it seems that those business units are really high functioning together. So well done, Valmont.
Well done, Valmont, indeed. And another that stood out, they're somewhat close on the show floor and they're very close in category, but Nevados. Nevados really came out in full force this year.
Yes.
Their trace product is an evolution in the way that they're offering the product. But what stands out to me about Nevados is that they're taking a lot of the things that we know to be true about terrain following in the sense of harvesting energy, and they're including it. They're bundling the software service.
Yes.
So whereas in the past you may have had the option to upgrade to different software for backtracking or maybe diffuse light harvest, Novatos has said, you know what, we're all in. We recognize that if we're going to do terrain following, we need to have these services as a core piece of the product.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of people, because we're not all connected to the construction side of the industry, people really underestimate the earth-moving costs associated with these projects, right?
Yeah.
So a product like Novatos, man, it is scratching an itch in the market that was desperately needed to eliminate all this pre-site prep in order to make any project viable.
Yep. Something that stood out to me, I had a conversation with, and again, it's an unsexy topic, but transformers are one of the key limiters to whether or not we can get these things turned on, from factories to the field work. And, Ben Macias left Shoals and went to MGM Transformer. I learned a lot about the timeline that it takes to actually put these hand-wound transformers together. But companies like MGM that have been around for 50 years right here in U.S. soil, people that have been working there for 40 years. Talk about heritage and a legacy job force. And companies like MGM are trying to dramatically reduce the lead time so that we can accelerate this transition to get more plants online, more literal power plants, but also more like, SEG Solars and Q Cells of the world that are bringing this domestic supply back to U.S. soil.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to see that intersection of family-owned businesses, multi-generational manufacturing operations. Think Midwestern, family-owned, 100-year-old roll-formed steel.
Yep.
Pretty boring product line if you think about it. They are fundamentally critical to the future of our U.S. supply chain around that stuff, right? And so we're seeing this resurgence of investment and all this interest amongst privately held family-owned businesses.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Speaking of investment, today's startup winner is one startup to watch, Pearl Street Technologies, and they're focused on an area that's, again, not super sexy, but they're trying to accelerate interconnection timelines. We had a great interview with them this morning. They won the startup pitch competition yesterday.
Very cool.
I want to say another startup to watch. I just saw Alex Nussey, one of our American-made Challenge Prize winners.
Yes.
And their technology, Watch, is literally, WAATCH, is literally kind of the industry monitoring platform 2.0, right? When you think about the way monitoring has evolved from companies like Draker Labs in the past to Also Energy, like this evolution of being able to have real insight into data, Watch is taking it again to another level and really thinking about how does the monitoring interface on every level with asset performance.
Yes.
And, in the category of startups to watch, I think they're one to watch.
Yes, absolutely. And we talked about Alex Nussey of this next generation of entrepreneurs and really business leaders coming up in our space. He's a great example of that. Isn't it so interesting and just refreshing, Nico, that like for so many, 2 decades now, a lot of these very successful entrepreneurs in the space, we've been making it up as we go, right?
Yes, like this show.
Yeah. And so it's really great to see this next generation who's been taken under the wing around that first generation of solar pioneers like Dan Sugar and Jigger Shah, right?
Yeah.
Man, they're coming up behind them. We've got a deep, deep bench of next generation professionals building this next generation grid. And man, that gets me just jazzed up to work in this industry.
Do you know what gets me jazzed up?
What's that?
How you have this actual solar power shirt on. It says
Served up daily.
Abby, what do you think of this? Solar power is served fresh daily. Isn't that amazing? We need better swag. We've talked about this.
Yeah,
I love the pen that you are wearing. I love the sun. We gave a shout out to SMA. I wanted to, I forgot to mention Franklin, and they actually, their booth stands out to me as one of the booths that's just the most like radical, visually appealing.
Yeah.
The spacecraft above it and everything.
That's right.
But do you know that they had 5,000 bags, and I am holding up the last bag? How many booths get to brag about all of their bags getting taken away? Most people are like, yeah, thanks, right? I don't want your bag. I'm taking this one home because it's actually super cool. And the other thing, we gave all the superlatives out, but we gave one this morning, which is deserved for CPS, for most expensive swag that's actually useful. And I'm going to give a co-winner because I just got this from Fluence. This is a spider vest. Spider, like this is not cheap swag. So I think one of the sort of insider secrets on swag is that they do hold back the good swag for customers. Go figure. Thank you, Fluence, for this. This is what it looks like to really craft your message into something that people are going to want to wear and rep your brand. So Fluence, great job.
That's right. Should we add that to like a Q&A? Like if I'm your vendor, do you have cool swag for me?
I often ask. Yeah,
okay.
I do ask.
All right. Good. That's fantastic. Nico, I want to learn more. Like I got to give you guys props. Your team has done an amazing job with this entire broadcast.
Thanks,
certainly RSM and what you and I are doing is just the daily show at the end of the day, wrapping it all up. But man, watching it throughout, I've seen you on the Jumbotron all week, man. Your daily show, your morning show just was amazing, and your guest lineup. How are you leveraging that? Like, I'm interested to know, like, what else are you doing across the industry other than obviously everyone sees you at RE+. What are you doing on your day-to-day throughout the year?
Yeah, so Abby and I talk about this a lot. We need a better platform for the industry. We need better messaging. It's why Good Energy was launched. I mean, there really is value to taking this, what we're able to accomplish as a podcast is long-form content that now we've gone video first for a year and a half, and people are really resonating with the fact that we take this long-form content, we break it into micro content. I think the thing that I want to impress upon everyone and that our customers readily accept and dive into is that everyone can do content. Everyone thinks, oh, that's easy for you to say, Nico, you've done 750 interviews. I promise you, Peter Kelly has started doing interviews, and he doesn't have 750 under his belt. Everyone can do content. Like ABC Supply has that little ring light, and I think it's a genius move because it is the kind of thing that it takes one more excuse away. There's really no reason why you should have an excuse. The most appealing and compelling content, like what is it? Josh, the young guy on your team that's running around, Seth. What Seth is doing? Yeah. Like what these guys are doing, the most appealing content right now on the internet is what Seth is doing. Literally taking the microphone in your hand. Yeah, give that guy a hand.
Yeah.
Taking the microphone in your hand, turning the literally portrait camera on yourself and asking people questions. Those questions turn into answers, and those answers help move our industry forward. And I think far too long we've expected only the leadership in our companies to be the oracles with all the answers. It's not just Abby who has the answers. It's not just Nico. It's not Dan Sugar. It's not a comment on Jigger. We have to get everybody involved. Speaking of which, I'd like to get Abby involved before she has to be pulled away to something else. Abby Hopper, would you please join us on the stage? Abby Hopper, everybody. It is so lovely to see you, my friend. Look at this marvelous necklace you've got. I will.
Close.
I'm gonna help you with this. I have to. So I want to start first and foremost with. I mentioned earlier that I'm a huge fan of pins. I think we need to bring more enamel pins back.
Yes.
The bling is key. You can see Josh and I repping.
Yeah.
What is Solar Sister?
I have a Solar Sisters pin on. I even have a few more here in my pocket.
Yeah.
If any unrealized Solar Sisters so far.
If you'd like, who would like to be pinned as a Solar Sisters? Anybody not been pinned yet? Well, all right, we got one.
All right.
After you go down, you can pin one.
We will
more.
have a pinning ceremony. No, the Solar Sisters is I was struck by what you were saying. Seth and Todd had a good idea to just start asking questions on the show floor, right? I had an idea to start getting women together. That's not a particularly original idea, but I started writing to my Solar Sisters. And then I started convening them. And then we created a pin. And it's so funny. I don't know if you've noticed, there's been a lot of them around the show floor.
Oh, man.
It's a movement.
Show floor, a lot of them. It is a movement.
Yeah.
You know why? Because people want to connect.
Do you know what I notice is that after every show, regional or otherwise, there's a post or there's usually a dozen or so posts, like this Thunderclap marketing moment where the women that are Solar Sisters brag about the dinner, they brag about meeting new friends, and they show off their pin. And I think it's wonderful grassroots marketing.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, you know what I did yesterday? I organized a show floor tour of my Solar Sisters. So about 30 of us went around. Yeah, well, we only hit 5 because we're talkers.
Oh, right.
Well, I only had an hour. But I went to all board member companies, of course. But we talked, we talked to the CEO of Shoals, and we talked to the SVP at Mortensen, and we talked to the SVP at SolarEdge, and we talked to the CEO at Kinematics, and just there was this really magic between demystify. I don't know about you, maybe not you guys, but I get intimidated walking around the show.
Yeah.
There's a lot to see. I'm not a buyer. I'm not a technology expert, right? I don't always know all the lingo. So I feel silly about asking, what does that thing do that you're trying to sell?
Yeah.
So it's really fun, but it is that grassroots marketing, because I can tell you those 30 highly brilliant, successful women that spent time with all of those executives. You want to talk about tight labor markets? Yeah. Right? That's some good talent right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that really stood out at the show is just the incorporation of so many talented women and the incorporation of the Rise events.
Yeah.
And it is just, it's breathing additional energy into an already kind of amazingly energized field. So
Yeah.
well done, and thank you for everything you're doing there, Abby.
Thank you. And I rode the bull.
You did.
Yeah,
I
we
just read
got
the
a video.
ball.
We saw a video actually. Yeah.
Carolyn, if you can get us that video, we're gonna do a roundup, like a roundup video.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
With us using it.
100%. Absolutely.
That's great.
We'll have like my B-roll and your B-roll riding the bull.
I
as
love
the
it.
intro reel for our roundup video.
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it was fun.
Probably Abby spinning around as we say roundup. That would be like just.
Yeah, I have to say, I felt like I was spinning around on
Yeah.
the
I got dizzy.
when you play. It's like,
Yeah.
nah.
I know.
Right.
I got
You're going
so
really
dizzy.
slow. It was
so,
fun.
Before I let you run,
Yes.
what stands out to you this year, and in particular around the stories we tell as an industry, and how next year when we get to
Yeah.
Vegas, we will have evolved? What's your hope?
Yeah. So I had a couple of really fascinating conversations with people this week. I just had a conversation with someone upstairs about this idea he had that he, like, it sounds like it sounds unreal, but it's true. He imagined it on a cocktail napkin at a hotel lobby bar.
Yeah.
And if you go upstairs now, you can see the video of this piece of machinery that they've just released. It's brand new this morning.
Wow.
Actually, they just got through everything.
cool.
Yeah, it's at Rosenden's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at Rosenden, it's a robot to automatize the installation of panels. It's really cool. It's really cool. But David did it on the back of an envelope, right? And
Yeah.
those are the kind of real life stories I love to hear. And that's the kind of story I can see sitting in a member of Congress's office.
Right.
Yes.
Like, you want to talk about innovation, right? This is an innovative idea born of someone who saw a business need and making it happen. So what do I think is likely to happen between now and then? You can imagine I've talked about the election a lot over the last week. But I think that this power of our stories and the storytelling, that's not a partisan issue.
That's right.
People want to hear.
And a question for you, like how can we as business leaders, obviously RSM is in the energy space for many, many years, 67,000 people accounting firm, but really new to solar, right? Like we're helping in credits incentives in all these ways, but how can we as a business community really rally behind SEIA and all of the work that you're doing out of Washington?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. I appreciate it. I would say the storytelling, right? I mean, $70,000 people is great.
Yeah.
And that's like a one-time hit. And then the next company, the next organization or industry that comes in is going to have a different number. And then by the end of the day, that elected official isn't going to remember, was it 70,000 or 20,000? I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But if one of those 70,000 has a compelling story about how working at RSM changed that person's trajectory or their family's trajectory, or they realized a goal they'd never been able to realize, that story will stay with that elected official or that member of the public, whomever, right? Whoever your audience is. But so I would say we can do a lot of storytelling. So engaging us with us in the storytelling would be the most impactful way.
Absolutely. Looking forward to doing that.
Good. Thank you.
And I would say that if anyone is not currently following you, they are missing some of the best storytelling on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Oh.
You are truly slaying it.
Thank you. I want to tell you one story, which is I really appreciate you saying that, because sometimes I get feedback like, oh, I really, your LinkedIns are so cute. Like, I hope that all the 22-year-old women that follow you are really enjoying it. Some version of that.
Wow.
And first of all, the data doesn't support that. But I have been on this show floor in this room for the last 4 days, and the number of senior women, men, all different ages, varieties, who pull me aside and say, oh my gosh, I read that. I feel that way too.
Yeah.
Right. I get the Sunday scaries, or I didn't know what to pack, or one of my board members told me my wife I send your post to my wife every day and we talk about it. Right. So stories, you can't pigeonhole people.
I think that honestly, and I've said this privately, I think you're a marketing genius. And I think that you're really humble about it. Yeah, give her a round of applause.
Absolutely.
You really are.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not often that you see, like, I felt proud, and like it was like, for me, it was like a little flower on my lapel that you started a post with, Nico Johnson broke my flower pot. Seriously. I was like, this is genius marketing, right? Like, Abby is not going to say, like, hey, I had this wonderful time with Nico. You start with something that's real and that's approachable, and everybody, this is the thing, like, it has to feel approachable. And also, you, like, immediately went to a different story. It wasn't about Nico. It wasn't about the flower pot. It was just like a quick grab of attention.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, if people are really looking for what does it look like in written media to actually be a thought leader on LinkedIn, you guys are really stepping it up. And I know that you are supported by a phenomenal team. I had time to sit with you and Jim Bristol and like hear the way that you mold the stories.
Yeah.
And I just hope that more members take advantage of the opportunity to be in that circle with you. So
That's right.
Our hats off to you and the SEIA team. You guys are doing phenomenal work.
Yes.
Thank you.
And keep the data coming.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
we all rely on it. It's how we get approvals to kind of move forward with different initiatives to
Yeah.
see, like, look at all this data validated by SEIA.
Absolutely. Well, from such an accomplished storyteller as yourself, Nico, that your endorsement means the world to me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It is such a privilege to
Yeah.
share the stage with both of you, but
Well,
to
Thank you, Abby.
tell stories together. I love
Absolutely.
it.
And your allyship means the world to us.
Awesome. Good.
Right.
All right. Bring it
Abby
in.
Hopper.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Abby.
thank
Abby
you,
Hopper.
Josh.
All right.
All right. As we round it out, thank you, Abby. As we round out the day here, we really just want to say once again, thank you to everybody who came to listen, all the support that we received from the many different contributors. Derek Solar Boy Mast, if you saw Derek's Man on the Street segment. Thank you to all the guests who joined us in our daily morning show. Thanks to Prevalon Energy for sponsoring that. Thanks to all of our daily roundup guests. Yesterday was amazing. I was
really
walking
was.
around yesterday, and I had a lot of people comment on just how insightful that panel session was with Roan and Joe Ordia and JL Holzman from Heat Map News.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing we really do. We literally spend 6 months out of the year just planning for this 3-day sprint. It means a lot to us that you guys would pay attention, that you would join us here.
Really impressed with everything at the show this year. Can't wait for 2025. We're back in
forward to
Vegas,
Looking forward to
right?
Vegas, yeah. Back to the
Man.
Venetian.
Yes. Can we make it bigger? How are we going to make this thing bigger? That's
Yeah,
that's my closing question
yeah,
for you. How is this going to grow next year?
Well, I'll tell you how it's going to grow up because we are going to tell better stories.
Yes.
And my vision is that actually in Vegas, we're going to have to move out of the Venetian because we won't fit.
Right.
We'll have to go to the convention center, which is a really suitable location.
Yeah.
Right, Abby. Let's grow
Yeah.
out of the Venetian. We'll be in the convention center
Right.
next year. But it really comes down to everybody not looking at the screen and watching, myself and Joe and Derek produce content, but recognizing that content is a ground game and it is something that everybody can do.
That's right.
And that there are teams like SunCast and teams like Solar Surge that can help.
Yes.
But you got to take that first step. You got to actually get your story out in the world. And it happens in the margins, but you got to be intentional about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is the Daily Roundup, folks. It's presented by RSM. Joshua, Beck, I admire all the work that you've done from investing in this industry to leading now this tax equity and structured finance and cybersecurity and IT optimization.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work that RSM is doing.
Well, thank you.
To help lift the industry into a higher plateau.
Well, fantastic. And can we get one more round of applause for the one and only Nico Johnson? Come on. This guy's the best, right? So
Signing off for the last time. I'm
Thank you
Nico
all.
Johnson. This has been the Daily Roundup. We'll see you all in Vegas.
safe travels home, everyone.